There's something fascinating about watching Hollywood icons navigate the slow-motion chaos of fame, and few people do it quite like Jennifer Aniston. She's one of those rare figures who somehow stands outside the gossip machine, even when she's right at its center. You look at her now, 56 years old, still glowing under the relentless spotlight, and you start to realize how much her career has become less about acting and more about survival, about what it means to keep showing up, staying relevant, and somehow remaining human in an industry that eats people alive. The recent headlines surrounding The Morning Show are a perfect example. They're about Greta Lee's departure from the series, yes, but they also highlight the shifting world Aniston inhabits, a media landscape obsessed with reinvention, scandal, and the idea that behind every strong woman must be a breaking point waiting to happen. Greta Lee leaving The Morning Show after 4 years struck a nerve among fans because her character, Stella Bach, wasn't just another TV executive. She was the kind of ambitious, progressive visionary you imagine thriving in the post-Me Too newsroom world. Sharp, analytical, driven by principles about representation and change. But like most idealists in drama and in life, she burns out. Her story ends not with triumph, but with scandal, loneliness, and a one-way airplane ticket out of the chaos. When Lee herself confirmed her exit, saying, "This is the end of the road for her," it felt oddly poetic. Because that's how Hollywood works. No matter how idealistic your intentions are, there's always a reckoning between who you want to be and who the system forces you to become. The irony, of course, is that The Morning Show was always a mirror held up to its own industry. It's a show about power, ego, gender politics, and truth in journalism. But it's also about people trying to control the narrative of their own lives when everything around them is spinning out of control. Greta Lee's Stella Bach wanted to innovate, to change things from the inside, and ended up suffocating in the very culture she was trying to reform. It's hard not to see the parallels with Jennifer Aniston herself, an actress who, for decades, has been defined by her image. America's sweetheart, the friend everyone loved, the woman every tabloid tried to reduce to her romantic status. What's fascinating about Aniston is that she has always played the long game. After Friends, most actors of her era faded into nostalgia, but she pivoted. Instead of clinging to the past, she leaned into maturity, embracing projects like The Morning Show, which gave her space to be flawed, angry, political, even unlikable. Watching her in that series feels like watching a woman fight not just for screen time, but for authenticity. And that's a fight you can sense in everything she says off-screen too. In recent interviews, she's been open about how much she values rest and boundaries. She talks about carving out time for herself, refusing to work nonstop, and taking literal bikini breaks in Mexico with her friends. It sounds lighthearted, the kind of line tabloids turn into clickbait, but underneath, there's something more serious. Aniston understands burnout. She's lived inside it for decades. "I think it's so important," she said recently, "because if we're running on fumes, we're useless." And she's right. Hollywood is built on fumes. The endless hustle, the constant performance of energy, beauty, and optimism. But there's something quietly radical about a woman of her stature saying, "I'm tired and I'm going to rest." She's not trying to sell a lifestyle. She's describing survival. In a world that worships productivity, taking a month off is almost subversive. Then there's her whole approach to self-care, which has become a kind of philosophy. It's easy to roll your eyes at celebrity wellness routines, the SPF, the collagen packets, and endless beauty products spilling out of suede handbags, but Aniston talks about it like someone who's actually earned the right to slow down. When she lists her go-to items, Image skincare sunscreen, Elizabeth Arden lip balm, Lola V dry shampoo, and collagen peptides, it's not just brand talk, it's ritual. There's something grounding about it. It's her way of saying, this is what's real, this is what I can control. What makes her more interesting now, though, is that she's not pretending any of it fixes everything. She admits she still carries emotional scars from the past. Even something as small as an eyebrow mishap in the 90s becomes a metaphor for regret. A model friend told me to pluck them, she said, and I've been traumatized ever since. That's the kind of detail that feels trivial until you realize it's a story about identity, about how easily women in Hollywood are molded, literally reshaped by someone else's opinion. In that sense, Jennifer's eyebrows are like battle scars, a reminder of all the time she was told to be someone else. It's telling that she's now producing and starring in the adaptation of I'm Glad My Mom Died, Jennette McCurdy's best-selling memoir about growing up with a controlling, narcissistic mother. When Aniston said she and McCurdy had very similar moms, it wasn't just a line for the press. It was one of those rare moments when she let the wall drop. Aniston's own mother, Nancy Dow, was famously difficult, a beautiful woman who reportedly made Jennifer feel inadequate and criticized her appearance. Their relationship was so strained that Aniston didn't invite her to her wedding and was left out of her mother's will. So for her to take on the role of Deborah McCurdy, a manipulative, fame-obsessed parent, feels like emotional archaeology, a chance to re-enter the ruins of her own past, but this time as the observer, not the child. That's what makes this project more than just another prestige TV adaptation. It's part of a broader pattern in Aniston's career, reclaiming her own story through the act of storytelling itself. When you think about it, that's what she's been doing since the very beginning. From Rachel Green, the runaway bride trying to rebuild herself in a city that didn't care, to Alex Levy, the anchor caught in moral gray zones of media and power. Her characters are always women on the edge of reinvention. They're always asking, who am I, really, when the cameras stop rolling? Greta Lee's departure from the morning show actually fits into this larger narrative. The show isn't just losing a cast member, it's losing a perspective, that sharp, self-aware critique of how progress collides with personal failure. But in a way, that's the beauty of it, because real progress always comes with loss. Stella Bach's storyline ends with scandal, isolation, and an airplane disappearing into the clouds, not because she failed, but because sometimes the only way to move forward is to leave everything behind. Greta Lee said filming that final scene brought her to tears. She was sick, physically and emotionally drained, and yet she did it. There's something deeply human about that, the idea that even when we're exhausted, we still have to say goodbye with grace. And maybe that's the thread connecting Greta Lee and Jennifer Aniston. Both women learning when to let go. Aniston has talked about her past with a mix of honesty and humor, admitting she's running on fumes sometimes, but still finds peace in the small routines: hydration, sunscreen, the comfort of old 90s clothes she refuses to throw away. There's something beautifully ordinary about that. Fame makes people forget their own humanity, but Jennifer keeps reminding us that it's still there, buried under the makeup and photo shoots and designer bags. She laughs at herself now about her giant handbag full of smart water bottles, her stretchy P-Volve bands, her favorite lip balms. It's not vanity, it's survival gear. It's how she stays sane in an industry that rarely allows stillness. She once said, "Self-care is not selfish." And honestly, that might be one of the simplest and most profound things anyone in Hollywood has said in a long time. Because it's not about the products. It's about claiming ownership of your energy, your peace, your worth, especially when the world is constantly trying to sell it back to you. The irony is that while she's been preaching self-care, the media continues to dissect her like she's still 30 years old. Every wrinkle, every vacation, every quote about rest turns into a headline. But maybe that's why she still matters, because she's become a kind of mirror for the audience too. The embodiment of aging gracefully, not by pretending you're young, but by being honest about how hard it is to keep going. And in the middle of all this, the beauty talk, the Netflix deals, the emotional roles, there's still something quietly fierce about her. When she speaks about her late mother now, there's no bitterness, just perspective. She can talk about holistic childhood habits and the importance of hydration, but you can sense the subtext. She's rewriting the story. She's choosing to remember her mother not as a critic, but as a teacher, even if the lessons were painful. That's what growth looks like when you've been famous for 30 years. It's not loud or dramatic. It's subtle, disciplined, and deeply earned. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, Greta Lee saying goodbye to the morning show, Jennifer Aniston stepping into a new role that echoes her own past, and the media spinning it all into 1,000 sound bites, what you really see is a story about transformation, about how women in Hollywood are finally reclaiming their narratives not through perfection, but through truth. Aniston's career right now feels like a study in balance. She's still the same person who made us laugh in Friends, but she's also evolved into someone who isn't afraid to explore pain, aging, and imperfection. She's no longer running from her image, she's reframing it. And that's what makes her fascinating. Not that she looks incredible at 56, but that she's willing to show what it takes to stay whole in a business designed to break you apart. If you strip away the glitter and the brand deals, what remains is a woman who has learned to rest, to forgive, and to find joy in small things, like a favorite lip balm, a pair of old jeans, or a moment of silence away from the cameras. That's not vanity, that's wisdom. And maybe that's the real story behind all the headlines. Not who's leaving the morning show, not which SPF she's using, but the quiet revolution of choosing peace over perfection in a world that values neither.